A diphthong, also known as a gliding vowel, is a combination of two adjacent vowel sounds within the same syllable. Technically, a diphthong is a vowel with two different targets, that is, the tongue moves during the pronunciation of the vowel. In many dialects of English, the phrase "ʻnoʊ, ʻhaɪweɪ, ʻkaʊbɔɪz", ʻnoʊ, ʻhaɪweɪ, ʻkaʊbɔɪz has 5 distinct diphthongs, one in every syllable. Diphthongs contrast with monophthongs, where the tongue or other speech organs do not move and the syllable contains only a single vowel sound. For instance, in English the word r is spoken as a monophthong, while the word ʻaʊ is spoken as a diphthong a, where two adjacent vowel sounds occur in different syllables. For example, in the English word re-elect, the result is described as hiatus, not as a diphthong. Diphthongs often form when separate vowels are run together in rapid speech during a conversation. However, there are also unitary diphthongs, as in the English examples above, which are heard by listeners as single vowel sounds. Transcription. In the International Phonetic Alphabet, monophthongs are transcribed with one symbol, as in English sun, in which represents a monophthong. Diphthongs are transcribed with two symbols, as in English ʻhaɪweɪ, in which a and a represent diphthongs. Diphthongs may be transcribed with two vowel symbols, a with a vowel symbol and a semi-vowel symbol. In the words above, the less prominent member of the diphthong can be represented with the symbols for the palatal approximant and the labiovelar approximant, with the symbols for the close vowels and/or the symbols for the near-close vowels, and some transcriptions are broader and narrower than others. Transcribing the English diphthongs in ʻhaɪ and ʻkaʊbɔɪz or ʻhaɪweɪ is a less precise, a broader transcription, since these diphthongs usually end in a vowel sound that is opener than the semi-vowels of the close vowels. Transcribing the diphthongs as aa is a more precise and narrower transcription, since the English diphthongs usually end in the near-close vowels. The non-syllabic diacritic, the inverted breve below, is placed under the less prominent part of a diphthong to show that it is part of a diphthong rather than a vowel in a separate syllable. When there is no contrastive vowel sequence in the language, the diacritic may be omitted. Other common indications that the two letters are not separate vowels are a superscript aa or a tie bar aa or aa. The tie bar can be useful when it's not clear which letter represents the syllable nucleus, or when they have equal weight. Superscripts are especially used when an on or off glide is particularly fleeting. The period is the opposite of the non-syllabic diacritic. It represents a syllable break. If two vowels next to each other belong to two different syllables, meaning that they do not form a diphthong, they can be transcribed with two vowel symbols with a period in between. Thus, ʻaloa can be transcribed lo, with a period separating the first syllable lo from the second syllable The non-syllabic diacritic is only used when necessary. It is typically omitted when there is no ambiguity, as in ha, car. No words in English have the vowel sequences asterisk, so the non-syllabic diacritic is unnecessary. Types: falling and rising. Falling diphthongs start with a vowel quality of higher prominence and end in a semi-vowel with less prominence, like in I, while rising diphthongs begin with a less prominent semi-vowel and end with a more prominent full vowel, similar to the ʻnyād. The less prominent component in the diphthong may also be transcribed as an approximant, thus in I and ʻnyād. However, when the diphthong is analyzed as a single phoneme, both elements are often transcribed with vowel letters. Note also that semivowels and approximants are not equivalent in all treatments, and in the English and Italian languages, among others. Many phoneticians do not consider rising combinations to be diphthongs, but rather sequences of approximant and vowel. There are many languages that contrast one or more rising diphthongs diphthongs with similar sequences of a glide and a vowel in the phonetic inventory, closing, opening, and centering in closing diphthongs. The second element is more close than the first. In opening diphthongs, the second element is more open. Closing diphthongs tend to be falling, and opening diphthongs are generally rising, as open vowels are more sonorous and therefore tend to be more prominent. However, exceptions to this rule are not rare in the world's languages. In Finnish, for instance, the opening diphthongs ʻai and ʻuo are true falling diphthongs, since they begin louder and with higher pitch and fall in prominence during the diphthong. A third, rare type of diphthong that is neither opening nor closing is height harmonic diphthongs, with both elements at the same vowel height. These occurred in Old English. Beyond b, sealed coal. A centering diphthong is one that begins with a more peripheral vowel and ends with a more central one, such as, and in received pronunciation or in Irish. Many centering diphthongs are also opening diphthongs. Diphthongs may contrast in how far they open or close. For example, Samoan contrasts low to mid with low to high diphthongs I, probably, a, but, oro, gold, our, a cloud. Narrow and wide. Narrow diphthongs are the ones that end with a vowel which on a vowel chart is quite close to the one that begins the diphthong. For example, Northern Dutch and wide diphthongs are the opposite. They require a greater tongue movement, and their offsets are farther away from the starting points on the vowel chart. Examples of wide diphthongs are rp, gar English and length. Languages differ in the length of diphthongs, measured in terms of morae. In languages with phonemically short and long vowels, diphthongs typically behave like long vowels, and are pronounced with a similar length. In languages with only one phonemic length for pure vowels, however, diphthongs may behave like pure vowels. For example, in Icelandic, both monophthongs and diphthongs are pronounced long before single consonants and short before most consonant clusters. Some languages contrast short and long diphthongs. In some languages, such as Old English, these behave like short and long vowels, occupying 1 and 2 morae, respectively. Languages that contrast 3 quantities in diphthongs are extremely rare, but not unheard of. Northern Sami is known to contrast long, short and finely stressed diphthongs, the last of which are distinguished by a long second element. Phonology. In some languages, diphthongs are single phonemes, while in others they are analyzed as sequences of 2 vowels, or of a vowel and a semi-vowel. Sound changes. Certain sound changes relate to diphthongs and monophthongs. Vowel breaking. A diphthongization is a vowel shift in which a monophthong becomes a diphthong. Monophthongization. A smoothing is a vowel shift in which a diphthong becomes a monophthong. Difference from a vowel and semi-vowel. While there are a number of similarities, diphthongs are not the same phonologically as a combination of a vowel and an approximate glide. Most importantly, diphthongs are fully contained in the syllable nucleus, while a semi-vowel glide is restricted to the syllable boundaries. This often manifests itself phonetically by a greater degree of constriction, though the phonetic distinction is not always clear. The English word yes, for example, consists of a palatal glide followed by a monophthong rather than a rising diphthong. In addition, the segmental elements must be different in diphthongs so that, when it occurs in a language, it does not contrast with, though it is possible for languages to contrast and. Examples. Germanic languages. English. All English diphthongs are falling, apart from Jew, which can be analyzed as, in words coming from Middle English. Most cases of the modern English diphthongs originate from the Middle English long monophthongs through the great vowel shift, although some cases originate from the Middle English diphthongs. Dutch. The dialect of Haemond has 5 centering diphthongs and contrasts long and short forms of and. German. Standard German phonemic diphthongs in German: a as in egg, a as in mouse, mouse,
as in oi, new. In the varieties of German that vocalize the r in the syllable coda, other diphthongal combinations may occur. These are only phonetic diphthongs, not phonemic diphthongs, since the vocalic pronunciation alternates with consonantal pronunciations of r. If a vowel follows cf. Du horst, you hear, ich hor, I hear. These phonetic diphthongs may be as follows. 1 Visa notes that the length contrast is not very stable before non-prevocalic r and at Meinhold and Amp-Stock. Following the pronouncing dictionaries, Kretsch and Amp-Stotzer judge the vowel in art schwert, far to be long, while the vowel in ort furcht, hat is supposed to be short. The factual basis of this presumed distinction seems very questionable. Quote, he goes on stating that in his own dialect, there is no length difference in these words, and that judgments on vowel length in front of non-prevocalic r, which is itself vocalized, are problematic, in particular if a precedes. According to the lengthless analysis, the aforementioned long diphthongs are analyzed as d and. This makes non-prevocalic a and r homophonous as or. Non-prevocalic r and r may also merge, but the vowel chart in Cola shows that they have somewhat different starting points. Visa also states that laxing of the vowel is predicted to take place in shortened vowels. It does indeed seem to go hand in hand with the vowel shortening in many cases. Bernese German. The diphthongs of some German dialects differ from standard German diphthongs. The Bernese German diphthongs, for instance, correspond rather to the Middle High German diphthongs than to standard German diphthongs, i.e. as in lieb, dear, you, as in gue, good, ye, as in müde, tired, a, as in bei, leg, ау, as in boom, tree, oi, as in Bäume, trees. Apart from these phonemic diphthongs, Bernese German has numerous phonetic diphthongs due to L vocalization in the syllable coda. For instance, the following ones, as in sau, stable, as in stei, steel, as in wart, world, as in war, elects, as in tude, guilty. Yiddish has 3 diphthongs, as in. Diphthongs may reach a higher target position in situations of co-articulatory phenomena when words with such vowels are being emphasized. Norwegian. There are 5 diphthongs in Norwegian, all of them falling, as in ne, no, as in oi, island, as in sow, sheep, as in high, shark, as in joik, Sami song. An additional diphthong occurs only in the word hui in the expression I hui august, in great haste. The number and form of diphthongs vary between dialects. Faroese diphthongs in Faroese are I, as in bean, o, as in hauen, a, as in ha, ma, I, as in hay, u, as in nevnd, u, as in novn, uu, as in hus, I, as in min, by itha, as in wrath, I, as in hoira, u, as in sol, ovn. Icelandic diphthongs in Icelandic are the following: o, as in atta, 8, au, as in nog, enough, as in auga, I, as in car, dear, a, as in they. Combinations of semivowel j and a vowel of the following: j, as in etta, eat, ya, as in jetta, manger, jau, as in ya, yes, jo, as in joth, iodine, j, yod, jou, as in jol, Christmas, jo, as in jotan, giant, j, as in jaja, oh well. Romance languages. French. In French, w, I, and may be considered true diphthongs. Other sequences are considered part of a glide formation process that turns a high vowel into a semi-vowel when followed by another vowel. Diphthongs. W, as in wa, king, w, as in groin, muzzle, I, as in Hewitt, 8, as in Juan, June. Semivowels, y, as in we, yes, j, as in Leon, bond, j, as in arage, age, as in travail, work,
J as in Marseille, IJ as in bill, ball, OEJ as in fuel, leaf, UJ as in grenouille, frog, Jo as in viol, Quebec French. In Quebec French, long vowels are generally diphthongized in informal speech when stressed, as in tard, late, as in pair, father, as in fleur, flower, as in autre, other, as in neutre, neutral, as in bonk, bank, as in mince, thin, as in bon, well, as in one. Catalan possesses a number of phonetic diphthongs, all of which begin or end in or. In Standard Eastern Catalan, rising diphthongs are only possible in the following contexts: in word initial position, e.g. I agut, both occur between vowels as in fair and vm. In the sequences or and vowel, e.g. guant, quota, question, pingui, dot. There are also certain instances of compensatory diphthongization in the Mallorcan dialect, so that troncs develops a compensating palatal glidance surfaces as diphthongization compensates for the loss of the palatal stop. There are other cases where diphthongization compensates for the loss of point of articulation features, as in verses. The dialectal distribution of this compensatory diphthongization is almost entirely dependent on the dorsal plosive and the extent of consonant assimilation. Portuguese. The Portuguese diphthongs are formed by the labiovelar approximant and palatal approximant with a vowel. European Portuguese has 14 phonemic diphthongs, all of which are falling diphthongs formed by a vowel and a non-syllabic high vowel. Brazilian Portuguese has roughly the same amount, although the European and non-European dialects have slightly different pronunciations. A on glide after k, or, and before all vowels, as in quando agada, may also form rising diphthongs and triphthongs. Additionally, in casual speech, adjacent heterosyllabic vowels may combine into diphthongs and triphthongs or even sequences of them. In addition, phonetic diphthongs are formed in most Brazilian Portuguese dialects by the vocalization of L in the syllable coda with words like sol and sal, as well as by iodization of vowels preceding per second or its allophonate syllable coda in terms like erots and z in terms such as Prasmundial and desanos. Spanish. Phonetically, Spanish has 7 falling diphthongs and 8 rising diphthongs. In addition, during fast speech, sequences of vowels in hiatus become diphthongs, wherein one becomes non-syllabic, as in poeta and maestro. The Spanish diphthongs are Italian. The existence of true diphthongs in Italian is debatable, however a list is. The second table includes only false diphthongs, being they composed by a semivowel plus a vowel, not two vowels. The situation is more nuanced in the first table. A word such as beta is actually pronounced and most speakers would syllabify that way. A word such as voi would instead be pronounced and syllabified as, yet again without a diphthong. In general, unstressed IOU in hiatus can turn into glides in more rapid speech, with the process occurring more readily in syllables further from stress. Romanian has 2 diphthongs, ea and oa. As a result of their origin, they appear only in stress syllables and make morphological alternations with the mid-vowels e and o. To native speakers, they sound very similar to ya and wa respectively. There are no perfect minimal pairs to contrast oa and wa, and because oa doesn't appear in the final syllable of a prosodic word, there are no monosyllabic words with oa. Exceptions might include vol and tritua, though Iona Chitoran argues that these are best treated as containing glide vowel sequences rather than diphthongs. In addition to these, the semivowels j and with can be combined with most vowels, while this arguably forms additional diphthongs and triphthongs. Only ea and oa can follow an obstruent liquid cluster, such as in
broaska and driga, implying that j and with are restricted to the syllable boundary and therefore, strictly speaking, do not form diphthongs. Celtic languages. Irish. All Irish diphthongs are falling. Spelled AIGHAIDHRADHEAGHEADHA or EIDH. Spelled ABHAMHEABH or EAMH. Spelled ʻhaɪweɪ. Spelled ʻuay. Scottish Gaelic. There are 9 diphthongs in Scottish Gaelic. Group 1 occur anywhere. Group 2 are reflexes that occur before ul, m, n, bh, dh, gh and mh. For more detailed explanations of Gaelic diphthongs see Scottish Gaelic orthography. Cornish. The following diphthongs are used in the standard written form of Cornish. Each diphthong is given with its revived Middle Cornish and revived Late Cornish pronunciation. Welsh. Welsh is traditionally divided into northern and southern dialects. In the north, some diphthongs may be short or long according to regular vowel length rules, but in the south they are always short. Southern dialects tend to simplify diphthongs in speech or cade. Slavic languages. Czech. There are 3 diphthongs in Czech: a as in auto, e as in euro, o as in ghoul. The vowel groups ʻhaɪweɪ, i, e, io, and u in foreign words are not regarded as diphthongs. They are pronounced with j between the vowels. Serbo-Croatian i, as in Malajeco, is conventionally considered a diphthong. However, it is actually in hiatus or separated by a semivowel. Some Serbo-Croatian dialects also have uo, as in kuo, and j, rud, uon, whereas in Standard Croatian and Serbian these words are ko and j, rod, on. In Ugric languages Estonian, all 9 vowels can appear as the first component of an Estonian diphthong, but only occur as the second component. There are additional diphthongs less commonly used, such as in Europa, in Soandama, and in Norgima. Finnish. All Finnish diphthongs are falling. Notably, Finnish has true opening diphthongs, which are not very common cross-linguistically compared to centering diphthongs. Vowel combinations across syllables may in practice be pronounced as diphthongs when an intervening consonant has elided, as in nao, and instead of for the genitive of nako, closing as in liva, as in kainus, as in poika, as in it, as in oisen, as in laura, as in luto, as in kulus, as in leia, as in tesi, as in loita, close as in uida, as in ligi, as in velu, as in syesthesia, opening as in kaeli, as in suo, as in yo. Northern Sami. The diphthong system in Northern Sami varies considerably from one dialect to another. The Western Finnmark dialects distinguish 4 different qualities of opening diphthongs: e as in leet, to be, I as in jello, language, o as in boartit, to come, uo as in vuardagit, to swim. In terms of quantity, Northern Sami shows a 3-way contrast between long, short and finely stressed diphthongs. The last are distinguished from long and short diphthongs by a markedly long and stressed second component. Diphthong quantity is not indicated in spelling. Semitic languages. Maltese. Maltese has 7 falling diphthongs, though they may be considered VC sequences phonemically. EJ, GHI, AJ, GHI, OJ, IW, U, or a GHU, our GHU. Sino-Tibetan languages. Mandarin Chinese. Rising sequences in Mandarin are usually regarded as a combination of a medial semivowel plus a vowel, while falling sequences are regarded as one diphthong: I as in I, A as in lei, Ao as in Dao, Ao as in Dao. Cantonese. Cantonese has 11 diphthongs: I as in Gai 1, R as in BAAU3, I as in Guy 1, O as in O1, A as in Gay 1, U as in DEU6, U as in GIU3, Oi as in Oi3, Ow as in Go 1, Ui as in Pui 4, Ui as in ZEOI3. Thai languages. Thai, in addition to vowel nuclei following a preceding j and with, Thai has three diphthongs which exist as long-short pairs: ʻhaɪweɪ, ua. Mon-Khmer languages. Vietnamese, in addition to vowel nuclei following a preceding j and with, Vietnamese has three diphthongs: ʻhaɪweɪ tilde ie, ua tilde uo, ua tilde uo. Khmer language has rich vocalics with an extra distinction of long and short register to the vowels and diphthongs. Bantu languages. Zulu has only monophthongs. Y and W are semivowels, as in niuk ubika, as in ngiwa. Indonesian languages. Indonesian languages have only a few diphthongs and are located at end of the words, mainly due to Arabic influences. The diphthong is pronounced as the long vowels e, as in pantai, beach. O. The diphthong is pronounced as the long vowels o, as in atau, or.